Yo, yo. Okay, so I just got done recording the co-op podcast for the coalition. It was me, Gary Swaby, shouts to him, and my boys Charles and Riku. All four of us recorded that podcast. We did it live. The post will probably be up soon, so you can check that out. But right after that, I was informed that the new episode of Koutetsujou no Kabaneri was up, finally. I thought there was going to be a delay because of the tragic events that are happening in Japan right now. My condolences to all those suffering over there. With the 7.0 magnitude earthquake after, I think it was like a day or 2 days right after a 6.7 or something. It's crazy. I hope everyone's staying safe over there. So, understandably, there would be delays, unfortunately, for this week's episode, I thought, of Kabaneri. But there wasn't. Or it was, but it wasn't as long as I thought. It was posted online, and I was linked to it. And the first version of it that was posted to was really bad, and it was like the audio was messed up, so it wasn't feasible. But apparently, it's been resolved. So I was able to go check that out. Right after the show, me, Charles Riku, said we're going to go watch it and record videos on it. They both did, or I know Charles for sure did a review of episode 1. I'm not sure if Riku did. He might have been doing what I'm doing. I decided to do the first 2 episodes in one. So I'm going to be talking about the first 2 episodes. And man, I was worried. I'm going to be honest. I was worried after seeing the first episode. And the reason I was worried wasn't because of the first episode's quality. No, it was spectacular. That's why I was worried. The reason I was worried is because I assumed that there was no way they were going to meet that quality. I assumed that this was going to be a start with a bang, slowly fizzle out anime. I've seen that before. No. From the second episode, no. They're trying to stay the course, and they're doing it well. This episode actually, I would argue, is just as good, perhaps better in some aspects in terms of the character development, which is to be expected after all. A lot of that was done in the first episode. This was an amazing episode. My God, okay. So where do I begin? Let's start with the premise of the show. I'm not going to just recount the show to you or tell you what happens, because if you've watched it, you already know, and if you haven't watched it, you don't want it spoiled for you. But the premise of this is, you can think of this as a zombie anime, but it's not like other zombie animes or other forms of zombie media, period. It's pretty unique. In terms of the time period that it takes place, the kind of abilities which are still being fleshed out of the people who are infected, how you're getting infected is still kind of being fleshed out, and then now, after the events of the first episode, is there a way to reverse it or prevent it from happening? We don't know. The only solution to this problem was to handle yourself with a suicide bag. Basically, it's a bag that you apply to your chest. You pull a string and it just blows a hole through your chest. No joke. That's the only solution. So I guess at least you die with some of your humanity intact. And we see the main character, Ikoma. He's been in the first episode. He's trying to devise a weapon. It's like Riku said, actually. It's kind of funny because after he mentioned it, I couldn't get it on my head. It's very much reminiscent of a weapon from Dead Space, if you guys have played that game. It's in Dead Space 2. I believe it was in the first one as well. But he's trying to devise a weapon that could puncture the heart of the Kabaneri, because apparently the heart it's ridiculously powerful in terms of, and durable, I should say. It's really hard to penetrate, making them difficult to kill, because for most other parts of their body, they can recover or still be alive if it's damaged. But that heart, you destroy that, they're done. Though there's some inconsistencies with that, because we've seen a Kabane. There's a distinction. I'll get into that later. We've seen a Kabane seemingly either killed or at least stopped flat out by being decapitated. So I'm not sure exactly. They're probably still trying to figure that out. But for the most part, we see them using guns and they're hitting them. But when they hit them, I'm not sure if they're killing them or if they're just slowing them down. So it's very interesting. And the Kabane are problems, dude. Like, they appear to be super strong, because if all they need is a limb, if they get a hand on you, they're tossing you all over the place from what we've seen. And yeah, you get bit, wounded, it's pretty much a wrap. So when we start out here with the show is more than just this Kabaneri problem. There's lots of elements to this show that are speaking about society, and it's society in that world, but a lot of that can be reflected to today, surprisingly enough. Lots of social commentary on social economic status, the impact of fear on the mental psyche, and just how controlling fear is over most people. There's a lot. This show has quotables for days. I'm talking. It doesn't have as many quotables as like Ghost in the Shell, but it's there. It's that tier right below. Okay, so you're gonna watch this, and there's gonna be times you're gonna hear a quote. You're like, I'm writing that down, because I that's what I was doing. I'm compiling stuff so that when I'm in a debate with someone, or if I'm playing games and someone's talking that stuff, drop that real quick in the game. So Ikoma is the main character, by the way, is a very intelligent person. And I don't just say that based on how he's speaking, but see, this anime does more than just give you ham-fisted way of telling you about the characters in the world around it. They just show it to you and expect you to pick it up because you have common sense. I love that about this. So in the beginning of the series, it's not that you see him reading a book he's working on developing a tool. And at first, you don't know what the tool is. He could have just been working on the train. They don't draw a distinction between that. He's just working on tech, steampunk tech, because it's a very steampunk themed show. So he's working on the tech, which you find out is eventually going to be a weapon. But you don't find that out till in the sequences that they do it in. One of the members on the train that he's on, the Koutetsujou, I believe the trains are called, unless I'm mixed up on the translation, because the version I just watched, the translation was weird, and I don't know, I'll clear that up as in the third episode, obviously. The train that they're on, essentially, I'll just call it a train for now. The train that they're on, one of the people defending it gets infected, ironically saving his comrade, and it's a bunch of samurais, the people whose task it is to defend the train. And one of his friends was in danger of being infected. He risks his life to save that person, thus being infected himself. And the irony of that, like, dude, I just got hurt trying to save you. And you admittedly, it's like the moment they see he's wounded, they don't discuss it or see if there's any solution. The moment they see the wound on him, they clear away from him and immediately throw a suicide bag at him. That was it. Like, oh, you're bit. They don't contemplate the fact that there might be people in the world that are actually naturally immune, because if there's a virus or bacterial infection, there are people that are immune. They don't factor that in. They don't factor in the fact that there might be ways of suppressing it, or even trying to help, or even trying to give him a humane way of going. No. As soon as they see it, suicide bag, guns are drawn. Listen, don't disgrace your family. Use a suicide bag or what else? And the dude's final thoughts of his family and his mother, it's just like, that's rough. Like, this dude was honorable. He risked his life to save you, and you return that favor immediately with suicide bag, or you can get the 12 gauge, your pick. So, right there, it sets the tone for what the show is in terms of how dark and grim things are. And it just, again, right there, immediately shows you, okay, this is humanity. Like, this is the mind state of the people in this world. And a lot of that isn't uncommon to what we see now. Like, people justify grave acts of violence and injustice against other people that are just like them based on the fact that they don't live near them or they don't look like them. It's really still injustice and violence, but it's okay as long as it's not happening to you or someone you know or love or care about, or someone that doesn't look like you or live in the same country. It's kind of weird. Like, the moment this person gets infected, it's like, you know what? You're no longer human. Even though you know that they don't immediately turn. It's like they're still human there. And you're asking them to spend their last human moments either killing themselves or being killed. That's a little extreme. We go on to learn about Ikoma. Ikoma ends up being a character. Of course, he's the main character, so he's going to be a character with a traumaful past. Let's say that. And this past has kind of influenced the young man that he is now. And it's very interesting. Unlike most protagonists who just want to be powerful because they feel it's their destiny, or they're powerful because they're the main character. Like, no, he's a regular dude. right? And his motivation for wanting to become stronger or wanting to fight the Kabaneri isn't because he wants to save the world and be a hero or any of that. In fact, he immediately denounces being called a hero by people. His rationale is he's tired of living in fear. He's tired of being oppressed by fear like everyone else around him. He's tired of not having a way of fighting back. He doesn't even want to be all powerful. He just wants the ability to fight fear, to fight the Kabane, to not leave those that are close to him behind because they're in a perilous situation or they may be bit. So that's his motivation to developing this tool and finding counter transformation measures. And honestly, he's the only person that we see in episode 1, at least, that is either actively looking for this or thinking in this fashion. All the other characters are kind of dismissive of these things. And one of the key moments to me in episode 1, ironically, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's right before the end. When the young girl, I believe, was it Maymumi, or I'm butchering her name. She's being escorted by a priest, who I believe is also a warrior priest, because the dude's huge and he looked like he could just throw palms. And he escorts her to like the edge of the city. I believe it was not the edge of the city, but it was away from the chaos that was immediately happening with the Kabaneri outbreak in the town. And when he gets her there, he reveals to her, "I've been bit." So here's a person who's infected. They're going to die, and he was lucky enough to be fortunate to decide how he was going to spend his final moments. He spends his final moments escorting the girl that he cares for, his responsibility. And I mean, even though it's responsibility, they seem to have a connection, like they were at least friends, like they were at least good friends, and like they had the same kind of sense of honor and the same belief system. So you can see how much it pains her, even though she puts the mission first, just like him. You can still see it in it. It pains her that she has to go, but still, he spends his final moments making sure she's safe, and then he uses the suicide bag on himself. She doesn't order him to do it, though she doesn't try to stop him. It's a very conflicting scene, but it really hammers home the message of the show about fear, about sacrifice, about humanity, about what it means to be alive. And this is a theme that carries over into the second episode, which I'm going to start talking about because I'm still hyped. But I literally just watched it. I watched it twice. I watched it twice because it was that dope. There were so many little things in it. I missed a couple actually. That's why I'm happy I went back and watched it the second time. Okay, so I'm always gonna try to keep these videos spoiler free. So I'm just gonna go into this tidbit right here. There's a character who is more than they let on. That's all I'll say. And it ties full circle into what Ikoma's going through. Because as we saw Ikoma in episode 1, there's this really and this ties into episode 2 as well. So I'm gonna go back and touch on this for a second. There's a moment where he is infected. You'll figure out how when you watch it. And during the infection, instead of panicking like other people would have did, or instead of cowering and trying to hide it so he could just run, no, he goes, "Okay, this is the moment I have been preparing for. I don't have room for failure now. This is it. It's do or die. I might as well put to practice all these things I've been practicing." You see him he's been connecting Kabane hearts. He's been studying them, studying their anatomy, studying the process that turns them, theorizing on ways to stop them from turning, on how to stop them. So he says, let's put this to the test. And he immediately goes. He's already in his area, like in his residence. So he puts that steampunk tech to work ASAP. Puts the clamp on his shoulder to try and stop the spread of getting all over him. Puts the thing around his neck, to the metallic brace around his neck, because he's theorizing that the virus takes control of the person once it reaches their brain. This is key, because there it is again. There's more symbolism. It's the Kabane have a hardened heart. It glows. It's really hard to destroy, right? But he's theorizing that they don't really transform until it reaches their brain. So there you have the dichotomy of the brain versus the heart, the rational part of you versus the emotional part of you. And while the Kabane virus, I guess you could call it, can still affect your body and it can affect your heart, it doesn't really control you until it affects your brain. because then it affects how you think, it affects how you act, and it robs you of that freedom of will. It robs you of your mental faculties. So he realized this, put the clamp on his neck and then one on his arm because he was bitten on his arm. Puts one over his shoulder to stop it spreading from his arm, and immediately puts one around his neck. And then he gets into this structure-like device. And here's where things are they're tricky to me. He proceeds to essentially strangle himself to death, or at least close to it. And while he's strangling himself, he's holding a gem in his hand. In his right hand, he's holding, I believe it was his right hand, the way his hand was animated, a green gem. Now, the reason I'm telling you this, because you might think this is a spoiler, even after the second episode, I'm not exactly sure how this happened, what the impact of that gem was. So I'm theorizing right now, and I hope you guys leave comments below, hit me up on Twitter, let me know what you guys think. I've discussed this with my Charles and Riku, and we couldn't even come to a consensus of what this means. He's holding a gem in his hand while he's going through that process of trying to fight being a Kabane. And while he's losing consciousness, he's focused on the gem and he squeezes it. And he has that flashback of when he was young and the trauma happened to him that kind of inspired him to be who he is now and what he's working toward. The reason I say all this is because I'm trying to figure out if that gem was directly responsible, or at least partially responsible, for him stopping the transformation, or if the gem is just a keepsake that he used to keep on as motivation. Like when he was passing out, he kind of like snaps back to it because like the gem, I guess, maybe helped him remember that trauma, and it helped him power up. You know, like when you're working out or you're doing something that's really stressful, and like you're about to give up, but then you remember your motivation for why you're doing it in the first place, or you see something that sparks a drive in you, or like, you know what I mean, like it may not even necessarily be an adrenaline rush, but it's something that sparks a pickup in you, you know, a spark. I think the gem represents that, but the argument could be made that gem directly was directly related to why he didn't transform, as in like perhaps it's part of the process. But after episode 2, though they still don't definitively answer that, I don't know if that's the case, because we find out that what Ikoma becomes is in the name of the title, he is a Kabaneri. He's not a Kabane, and he's not human. He's neither of them, and then both of them at the same time. So we find this out about him. That process turns him into that, but he's not the only one of them. So if that's the case, that other person, I'm not going to spoil who it is and how, we don't even know how they became that. But that other person, they don't have that gem. So what process did they go through? Maybe there's more than one process to go through this. Maybe they do have a gem or something like the gem that they used. We don't know. Because we didn't even find out this person was that way until right before the episode ended. Though they hinted at it beforehand when they showed the person sleeping or resting or whatever they were doing. They kind of went to a corner and needed to relax. But I don't even think the person was sleeping. Now I think about it, perhaps they have to rest. They can't overexert themselves for fear that the Kabane will eventually fully take them over. Because that person isn't wearing the same gear that Ikoma's wearing. They don't have a neck brace and all that stuff on their arm. So, you know, they might have to worry about it spreading more. Whereas with him, because he's got his brain, he's got the blood flow from his brain basically cut off, and he's got the thing on his arm. Like when he fights them and they're biting him and stuff like that, he's not scared of being infected. He was just giving them dudes the work. He was giving them the pump real quick. No thoughts, none of that. Like I don't even know if the dude feels pain because of the part on the train where he saves the mother and the girl. And like something hot falls, and first of all, this is how another reason they show. Remember how I was saying that the Kabane they clearly have superior strength to non-infected humans because of how they just pull people and grab them, or even the scene in the very beginning where they pull the one girl who has the gun's hair, and like you can see her scalp basically being pulled off, and the discoloration. First, this anime is beautiful. The artwork, I know it's done. Studio Wit did this. The same people who do Attack on Titan, and I'm not even a big Attack on Titan fan. I don't really like it. And people were saying they could see the tie-ins between this in terms of how it looks, and the concept of duality is in this. That was in that as well, which is valid. But I think that they made this show almost to be an antithesis of that show, because the main character here isn't like the main character from Attack on Titan. like his drive, how he acts, how he views the world is different. He has a more realistic, more responsible view, if that means anything. So, in all honesty, this anime, I kind of wish I hadn't started this anime. And what I mean by that is, I wish I could binge watch it, if you get what I'm saying. It's a perfect binge watch anime. It pains me having to wait for the next episode. There's no manga for it either. There's like it wasn't like it's one of those, I forgot the term for it, for an anime where the manga comes second, if at all. So I basically just have to wait, and it's painful. This is really good, and it's funny how good this is, because when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, it looked cool, but I was like, I don't know if they're gonna do anything new or different with it. And here I am eating crow, right? Just egg on my face. This is one of the best animes I've seen in a long time. This Joker, yeah, there's some good anime coming this year already, actually. Some really solid ones. Last season we had Boko, I'll just call it English title, Erased. We had Haiso no Grimgar. Grimgar was my favorite. That was my favorite anime from that season. So it's solid seasons, solid series, I should say. Sorry, coming. Oh my God, I almost forgot about Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. That's been amazing too. I'm probably gonna review the first 2 episodes of that definitively as well. But yeah, back to this. I really wish that I hadn't started. Just this is one of those series that's so good. It's like you're a fiend. I'm sitting scratching myself. I'm rocking back and forth. I'm waiting, clenching my teeth because the withdrawal symptoms. But no, I mean it's really good. It's very beautiful, as I've said before. Not just the animation, the art style, the environments, the setting, I mean, there's a momentary here there hiccup with animation here and there, but like I said, but nothing major. Most of the time, the animation is spot on. In fact, the only issue I even had with episode 2 was one issue. It was when Mamumi had the fight scene when she hops over and she fights the Kabaneri, and it's like the music they picked for that fight threw me off. I don't know what it was about it. Especially when I went back and watched it the second time. I was just like, the music was just like, it didn't fit with the theme of the show or that fight scene. It was very odd. I don't know. Maybe the music meant something and I just didn't catch it. I don't know. But I mean, the fighting, like the work she was putting in was dope. It was just that music. They could have missed me with all that. That was the only flaw. And even that's minuscule. Like, that's not enough to where I'd be like, yeah, that ruined the episode or anything like that. It was just something I didn't like. But the episode itself was still great. The characters in this are really good. Takumi is a G. Like, that's, when you ask me to define what a friend is, and I don't mean like this, dictionary definition version or this, fictional perfect. No. That's a real like Takumi is a real friend. Like, he's a young man who is loyal to his boy. But like, even like realistically, he had to think of the situation he was in when he first sees Ikoma after the fight with the Kabaneri. He worries for him, and then he was like, "Oh, you killed him, great." Then he found out the weapon worked, great. But then when Ikoma tells him, "Oh, I got bit," but don't worry, I found a cure. You could see the conflict with him. That fear was rising up versus, this is my friend. I want to be loyal to him. You could see how conflicted he was. But I mean, again, he sticks with him. He literally walks side by side with him from that residence to catch up with the rest of the village people at the train. He's literally side by side with him. That was done intentionally. When they get approached by the guards at the train, he says, "Show your body to make sure you don't have any bite marks on you." Ikoma was willing to show everything and be like, "Listen, doesn't matter. I found a way to stop it." Takumi was like, "No, you can't do that. You have to understand. Like, they won't care. They'll try and kill you just the same. Like, they won't believe you." And it's like he's like that anchor for him to reality, that anchor to like humanity as well, which ties in later with what you find out about Ikoma being actually a Kabaneri, not a Kabaneri. And being a Kabaneri, again, there's a scene where Ikoma's glasses fall off, and he's basically given up and accepted that he's a Kabaneri because everyone's treating him like he's one. And it is Akuma and another character that you find out later are treating him that he isn't one. And in fact, that other character informs him that he's not. But his glasses falls off when he's sitting there proclaiming that he is a Kabaneri. And it is Ikuma, not Ikuma, sorry, it is Takumi who puts the glasses back on Ikuma when he's being told, you're not indeed actually a monster. You aren't a Kabane. So that character was cool. Kurusu, the samurai that do this to protect Ayame, his character is great to me. I love his character. He's one of those characters that's like antagonistic to the protagonist, but he is so in a way where it makes sense. Like, you can't say he's antagonistic because he's evil, or he's antagonistic because he's a jerk or he's a bad person. He's actually a really good person. He is a man of principle. He's a man. Literally, he's a man of action. He's about what he says. You see that when he was willing to sacrifice himself to save everyone else in that one scene where they thought they would have to go leave to release the hand liver so that they could leave. And he was willing to do that. Even with the Kabane out there, he didn't care. He even tells the guy who's telling him, why go out there? Why would you do that? You'll die. And he's like, well, we're samurai. What's the point of being a samurai if we're not giving our life for a cause? Like, that's what you're supposed to do as samurai. I paraphrase there. Go watch and see what he actually says. And then also, there you go. It's that idea of fear paralyzing you. Like, you're in a situation where if no one does anything, everyone dies. So, rationally, someone would be smart enough to think, I'll die if I sit here and do nothing anyway. And my duty is to protect her with my life. So, if that's the case, then I might as well do that duty to ensure that she lives, or give her a shot to live. So that's one of the few glimpses we see of someone he's technically one of 2, maybe 3 characters in the series we've seen actually be able to check their fear with rational thought, or with principle, or humanity. They let humanity beat fear instead of letting that fear beat their humanity. So, obviously he has a lot more growth to go, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I can't remember the name of the girl who was the apprentice who ends up being a train conductor, but you can tell just her importance to them literally leaving. She's literally the reason they were able to escape and all of that. She's going to become important. Ayame is going to have to grow, and we kind of already see that with symbolism with what they did when they were leaving the town, leaving the station. Literally what she had to accept, what Kurusu had to tell her, and what they, not even figuratively, literally did to get out, which is symbolic of her having to move on. Again, no spoilers, you'll see it when you watch it, but it involves a train running over someone. Honestly, I got no faults with this show. This show, the only flaw I can think of is having to wait for the next episode. That's it. This show is amazing. It's really well done. Even the opening video was amazing to watch. It was kind of spoilerish when you see the full crew sitting there. It's like, okay, well, I know who's going to end up being with them and all of that. But still, it's just, the animation is so clean. This show, if you're not watching this show, you need to start watching this show. I will be reviewing episode 3 whenever that goes up, and trust me, I'll be checking all the sources online to try and episode 3 for Kabaneri whenever it gets posted. So be on the lookout for another review here. Please comment below with theories, with feedback, or just things you want to say. If you like the show, if you dislike the show, if there's things I missed. Because there's other things that I am even thinking of that I haven't talked about that I'll just talk about in the comment section. Or things that I legitimately missed and you could school me and everyone else. Please comment below with that. Check out Charlie and Riku-san's videos as well, because they are also doing a review. And they have different takes on the show than me for a lot of things, even though, because we've been bouncing back and forth about it since we all saw the first episode. So check theirs out, hit up their comment section, give them a like, give them a subscribe, give me a like, give me a subscribe, that'd be great. Also, be on the lookout for reviews from me from Joker's Game, Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. I know Riku was probably going to review that one too as well, because he's a huge Gundam fan. And I'll probably add to that list, because that's only 3 series that I'm going to be reviewing anime, and I know I want to start doing Kingdom once I get further along in Kingdom. So yeah, If you want to see more anime or manga releases for me to discuss, again, you can comment with that below or hit me up on Twitter. If it's a series I've already seen, that'll be no issue, especially if a lot of people ask for it. If it's a series I have not seen, I have ways of seeing it, so don't worry about that. Just request it. And it doesn't even have to be modern anime or this season anime. It can be old school retro anime. A lot of my favorite series of all time, Lupin the Third, Ashita no Joe, Horus, Prince of the Sun, they're all old school. So, I mean, I do the old school anime stuff as well. It doesn't matter what era. Good is good to me. Hell, when I was in college at University of Michigan, I took tons of classes on animation. And a couple of them, I think it was 3 or 4 of them, actually specifically dealt on anime. One of them was the history of anime and the differences between it, if there really were any. And the other one was the cultural impact of anime in Japan and its seeping and the world. So in that class, I ended up learning a lot about a lot of older anime that I even missed out on, and I enjoyed all of them. So, and like I said, I like pretty much all genres of anime. So don't even hold back. I don't care if it's mech anime, which I'm a fan of, sports anime, which I'm a fan of, action anime I'm a fan of, comedy, if it's good, I'm with it. Hell, you can throw some ecchi at me, I'm with it. Hentai, you might have to, slip me that on the DL, but if you've seen my anime list, you know that I don't care. Good is good to me. So if it's good, I'm with it. Genre doesn't matter. So again, thanks for watching. You'll be seeing from me soon. The next review I'll be doing Joker's Game, or maybe I'll do Unicorn first. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, I need to get on that too because I'm pretty sure the weekend's almost here. So episode 3 of all of them is coming out. So I'll have to do 2. I'll have to do 2 reviews, and then I'll do another 2. Yeah, I got some work to do, but hey, it's worth it. It's not really work because I enjoy it. So yeah, subscribe, like, comment. Peace.